Hi, I'm Sheila Guffey and I work with the Arts Council of Oklahoma City as a site facilitator and teaching artist for Creative Aging, which is a community outreach program that reaches about 280 seniors per month, working in 15 different facilities. Before I go into details about creative aging, I want to give you a little background on how I found my passion in working with senior adults. In 2010, I worked at the Oklahoma City Museum of Art, and we were researching new ideas for the community, and I started looking at art programs for Alzheimer's patients and reading about the benefits, researching every avenue of how it helps them, and I realized we didn't have anything like that in the city. So with the museum, we started the first Alzheimer's art program in Oklahoma City, and it was so amazing and inspiring to see the growth and how much it really helped them and how much it was needed in the community, that I wanted to work even more with seniors, and I switched jobs and went into hospice. And while I was in hospice care, I went in pretty much every senior living facility, including nursing homes, Alzheimer's facilities, assisted living, adult daycares, all over the Oklahoma City metro. And while I was working that job for about 3 years, I was saddened to see the lack of art for seniors. Not many places had any kind of fine art program, and if they did have any arts and crafts, it was not very technical, and it wasn't as learning focused as it probably should have been. So in 2014, I decided to go to the Arts Council of Oklahoma City and see if we could figure out a partnership on how to start a outreach program to help seniors, so that these people living in all these homes would have access to fine art programs. And so in 2014, that's how Creative Aging started, and we got grant money to fund it, and it grew pretty quickly. As of now, we go to 15 facilities per month, and those are bi-weekly classes. And we go to nursing homes, Alzheimer's memory cares, adult daycares, assisted living, and long-term. So we kind of hit a little bit of everybody. We try to focus the program on helping people with health and cognitive issues, because they're the ones that can't get out and about. They're the ones that can really benefit from this type of program. And so it's been quite a journey so far, and it's been amazing in the 6 years. I cannot tell you the growth and the benefits I've seen because of these classes. I mean, it's truly remarkable what it's doing, and I feel like I'm the luckiest person, since I get to hear every day how grateful everyone is for these classes. I swear every week one of my students tells me how this is the one thing they look forward to, or that it's changed their life in some way, or they're just excited to do it because they love giving our art projects away as presents. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about our project planning. Project planning for senior adults is very different. I would say it's difficult, very difficult, and it's not what people would expect. We have to consider so many different limitations, so we can't just come up with any project. We have to consider that most of our students have arthritis. Their hands hurt. We can't just do a project that's going to put too much emphasis on their joints, because by the end of the class they're going to be hurting, they're going to be stressed out, and that goes against the mission of what these classes are supposed to do. So we have to be very careful about choosing projects that won't hurt their hands, that won't cause them eye strain, and that won't cause them stress. You wouldn't believe it, but we have some students that they are such perfectionists, they get so stressed out about certain types of mediums that it hurts their back. And sometimes they have to leave to go ice their back. So we try to be really careful and mindful about all of these health issues that we're dealing with. We also have a lot of people that had strokes or that have Parkinson's disease, and I would say probably 40% of our clientele has dementia. So even in the nursing homes that aren't a memory care facility, most of those statistics show about 40 to 50% of those people have some form of dementia. So we're dealing with a lot of cognitive issues and a lot of, forgetfulness. So they can't hear a long lesson plan. So we kind of do it in steps. So like I'm not going to go in and give them a ton of directions, because even the ones that are in assisted living facilities that are in the better health, their brain is changing. So most of our students are probably average of 80 to 100 years old. Actually, most of our students are probably 90. And so at that point in age, even if you don't have a diagnosis of having dementia, your brain has changed. You're going to be a little bit slower in the way you think. So we are not going to go in there and deliver these lesson plans with a ton of instructions, because that's going to stress them out. That's going to make them feel insecure and make them feel like they can't do it. So we have to be really careful, because they are in a delicate place in their life to where they've lost their home. They are living somewhere they probably didn't want to go to. They're usually in a small room, and most of them have lost their husbands. We work with mostly women. There's a lot of women in these homes, about 90% women. So most of them have lost their husbands, and they've lost most of their friends. They don't see their families as much as they want. So they're dealing with stress, insecurity issues, depression. So the last thing I want to do is go in there and make them feel more insecure, like they can't do these art projects. So we have to really be careful of all these things. These art classes, the focus is definitely for them to have fun, to relax and forget about the stresses for that hour and a half, social bonding, and to just give them a communication outlet. We do have some patients that are not nonverbal, so they can't talk at all. So this type of thing is wonderful for them to have an outlet to express themselves. So we work with all mediums, from soft pastels, we do acrylic painting, we do a lot of watercolor, a lot of embossing. The projects that are probably the most popular are the smaller ones, and it took us quite a while to realize that. They don't have a lot of space. They don't have a lot of storage. They have a small room that sometimes is shared with a curtain in between them and someone else. And so they don't have much wall space. They don't have much storage space. So they love either functional art or small things that they can hang. Because they really are. They are so proud. They are so proud of this artwork, because most of them, they've never done art. I would say most of our students had no art classes, so they come in. Usually they're really stressed out. They tell us over and over again that they don't know what they're doing. But Lee and I, the other teacher that works this program, we just make it fun. We make it fun and stress-free, and we want them to learn, and they always do, but the focus is for them to have fun, and it should be very therapeutic for them. But we also give them a finished product. So we do not ever do two-part products, so that's another thing that's makes project planning kind of difficult. We do an hour and a half project, and they are always finished, because we can't do one that's ongoing, because we never know. The next time we visit, they could have passed away, they could be sick. A lot of these places, once one hall gets the flu, the whole place is under quarantine. So it's just too difficult for us to do ongoing. And there's a lot of medical stuff and surgeries, and so we always try to give them a finished product. that they can go home and feel good about. So, let me think what else. One more limitation. You would not imagine how often we get our supplies eaten, and we have to be very careful. When I started doing this in 2010, there wasn't much research about how to work with older adults, and especially those with dementia and Alzheimer's. I really didn't think that they would put things in their mouth. I didn't know much about it. So it was a lot of trial and error, and a lot of bad days at work. So at this point, we are very, very careful because it happens, I would say, once a week. A lot of our materials get put in people's mouths, so we keep a close watch. That's why we have 2 teachers. There are a lot of safety concerns with our type of classes, because if I'm getting all the supplies out and preparing the project and I have 12 students, it's hard to keep a watch on all of them, because within a second, the ball of clay could be put in someone's mouth and chewed up and swallowed, and we do not want that. So the clay and the pastels, actually all of our materials, they get eaten. The paint, so we really keep a close watch. That's another reason we kind of do step by step. So we usually hand out the supplies, get everybody started, because if we hand out the supplies first and they have time to hold things in their hands, they just get a little confused and then they want to put it in their mouth. So in project planning, I'm obviously not going to bring any beads, any small things that could be swallowed. We have to be really careful about non-toxic materials and things that if they do put in their mouth, we can clean. So, you know, a lot of times brushes get moved around in mouths, and anyways, it's interesting, but it's something you have to think about with this age group, and it really does happen more often than people would realize. So let me show you some examples of projects we've done in the past, just to give you an idea of what we think about and materials that we use. What's been really popular the last few years, like I said, they love small things that they can keep in the room and store or use. So jewelry and magnets have been extremely popular. So what we've been doing, actually let me see if I can bring this whole thing up. We've been doing a lot of, I'm gonna take this off. Okay, so I'm gonna show you some examples of some of the projects that we've done. Like I said, the smaller projects and the functional art is very, very popular. Not only because it saves them space, but because they can use it or wear it, and they can give it as gifts. So a lot of these places, or a lot of our seniors that we work with, they don't leave. Most of them, I would say 80% are in a wheelchair or a walker, and most of them will not leave the facility because they're a fall risk, so they don't get to go shopping. And so we try to do projects that they can make for a loved one. So especially around holiday times, we do things that they can give away, and they love it. They get so excited about making gifts for people since they're not able to buy anything and they don't go online. So this kind of stuff's really special. This was a veterans focused project, and these are magnets. We definitely have more women that we work with, just because most of the senior care facilities are made up of mostly women. But the men that we do work with, they love our Veterans Day activities. And so all of this is done with pencil. So we give them either a pencil or one clay tool. We try to limit options. If you give them too many options, that can stress them out. So it's a good rule to just give them 3 options, and then that way they have a good starting place. Since most seniors have not had art classes, they can get intimidated really fast about options and choices and how to get started. So if you are going to work with seniors, the best thing to do is start out by limiting choices. And so if you give all of these tools and all these options, they will get overwhelmed and they get grumpy, and it's a miserable class. So it's a lot of trial and error, figuring out how to work with senior adults. So these, this is a little more intricate. And these are also magnets. That's the pencil as a clay tool, but in one extra tool. So this is where we introduced an extra tool so that they can slowly build up to a little bit more three-dimensional and sculpting. These little things are very popular. Probably get asked to do pumpkins every year because they love them. They keep them out year-round, and most of them want a pumpkin patch. So I swear every year somebody asks me to bring back the pumpkins, but they are pretty cute and they're fun to do. And this is done with pigments. So this is a pencil, one tool, and brushed with pigments. Jewelry is so popular. They love jewelry, and I swear every time I go to a class, at least one person in my group has a piece of jewelry that we made together. So these are all different types. This is color clay. This is drawing. So this is all texture with your finger, and this is detailed drawing and pigment painting. This is actual paint, so is that. So we try to do a lot of different jewelry stuff. Of course, I assemble these parts because that's too tedious for their fingers. So I do the tiny detailed stuff so that nobody hurts their hands. This is what we're gonna do next week. So we're gonna have our first online class with the Arts Council of Oklahoma City, and this would be a good project that they can have fun with, and it will cheer them up for spring. And they can either do a big one or they can do a small little necklace one. And so how we're doing this, because all of the senior living facilities are on total lockdown, I won't even be able to deliver the supplies, but I'm meeting the activities directors from all 15 places and delivering supplies and delivering the video so that they can teach these projects to their seniors that are probably pretty upset that they are completely stuck. And some of them can't even leave their rooms as of right now. So, and they can't see family. No family can visit them. So they're pretty lonely. And I'm really glad that the Arts Council of Oklahoma City is continuing these classes, especially during this time of stress. So this is embossing. And as you can see, the lines, so any drawing that you do, we will emboss the lines sometimes, and it makes them so pretty. They love the embossing. This is normally a form of card making, but we've been using it kind of for watercolor painting, and so it kind of just gives, just gives it an extra flair that they can put up. Sorry, that's upside down. There we go. Anyway, so that's embossing. We bring the heat gun, of course, and we do the embossing for them. So they draw the lines. They use the embossing pen to go over the lines. Then we use the heat gun, of course, to do the lines and use our powder. And then they paint. So that's always really fun. Here's some more projects. We've done some pastels, and that's a good one for color blending. Some acrylics. So those little desserts, they're acrylics. Those are really fun for them to hang in their kitchen, since most of them they don't have a real kitchen, they just kind of have like a little refrigerator area. So they enjoy doing that. Those are harder than they look too. We did some watercolor landscapes. So they sketch the design first, and they have to sketch very lightly, which is sometimes hard for people. And then they do the watercolor. And then at the end, if they want to go over any of those lines, they can use a fine point Sharpie. We do quite a bit of drawing, which I love drawing. It's funny, drawing is the one medium that people freak out about. So we have slowly been introducing drawing for the last, 5 or 6 years. We started off just almost tricking them into drawing, like they like drawing when it's going to be a painting eventually. But this type of stuff, it took them a while to get there. But at this point, they really love the white charcoal pencil. It's just been great. So they have a white charcoal pencil and a black charcoal pencil. And these are obviously my examples, so they're a little more detailed. We also bring a lot of images that are more simple. Since we work with some Alzheimer's facilities, some of these projects we would simplify, and we have other examples. So we do not bring in the same project for every place. Certain groups can handle a little more detailed work, and other groups we try to give them different options, because this would definitely intimidate. But this is a fun way to learn how to build up your pencil lines. And birds are always fun. And let's see. So that's just some of the mediums. And then this was some little dishes. These are great because they can use these as jewelry dishes when they wash their face, or they can use them as soap dishes. We've done this a few times. This is done with color clay, so it's good. It's very hands-on. They have to swirl their own colors, move it around, marble it, and then they use their fingers to do the edge. So it takes a few tries, and I am pretty strict, actually. I don't let anything get in the oven if it is not smoothed out, no fingernail markings. Like, I really try to teach them how to be detail oriented, and if they didn't do something on purpose, then they have to really think about why it's there. So these are fun, and they're really good to get them to look up close. So usually they'll do them, and there's always fingernail marks or things like that, and I'm like, okay, did you want that there? And usually they just laugh and say no. And then we took it a step further. So we did these a few years ago. Then we took it a step further, and we added some pencil work and a little bit more cutting out to make dishes. So these were so popular that we were asked for some other ones, and so I came up with this, which was really fun. And this was done for Christmas, so they had little Christmas gifts, and some of them actually wanted a necklace, so they made huge necklaces. But I don't know, it's a little big for me. So that's some of our stuff that we do. And yeah, this is my space. And here I've got a whole art closet that I'm not going to show you because it's just stacked to the ceiling with art supplies, everything and anything you can imagine. But yeah, so next week we are starting our first online class for senior adults. We are going to continue to try to reach all 280 of our seniors that we work with, and I'm hoping it goes well. It's going to be tricky, definitely tricky, because of the supplies. They don't have supplies, so it's a lot of delivering the supplies, picking them up, delivering them to the next place, and making sure everything's really sanitized. So we're going to figure it out together. Thank you, Arts Council of Oklahoma City, for continuing these amazing programs during a hard time.